So, good morning. We're a small group, a mighty group here today. And so, my name is Charmaine Postal.
And I am Lawrence Claremont.
So, welcome to Florida Parent Teacher Association, PTA, Special Education PTAs in diverse and inclusive schools.
All right, so just to tell you a little bit about us, I've been with PTA for about 20 years now, the Parent Teacher Association. Started in middle school, high school, then went to the county level, then the state level, the national level, and now I'm serving at the state again in the role of Vice President for Educational Development.
And a little bit about me. I had 4 children in the Palm Beach County School District. I have been on probably every level. I was the president at the local level, the county level, served on the board of directors since 2016 within the different realms and hats. So currently I serve as the education chair. I've served in various capacities, but what is excited about being here today is as the education chair, I get to serve in the capacity of different branches of education, and one of them being diversity and inclusion, and another one being certainly the special needs and families with disability area.
All right, and one of our goals today is to help you to understand who we are as the PTA, the Parent Teacher Association, the purpose of what we do, and then the value of PTA. We're going to start out with like the history of PTA so you understand how we got started and why we're passionate about what we do. We're going to talk a little bit about the Exceptional Child Committee, which Charmaine leads up, what PTA can do for you. Hopefully you are a PTA member. If not, after hearing our presentation today, you become a PTA member, not just at your local school, but also the Florida Special Education PTA. We're going to share some resources that PTA has for parents and families, and then we're also going to get you to understand how to get involved.
So, what is our PTA mission? Our mission is making every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. Lawrence, what does that mean to you?
So when I hear that, that means each and every. Doesn't matter what language you speak, doesn't matter your ethnicity, doesn't matter your economic status. Each and every child deserves a fair opportunity for success. Now, when we talk about purpose, as you can see, there's several that are on here that are key and core to what we do. And one of them is to promote the welfare of children and youth in home, school, places of worship, and throughout the community. When you think about the Parent Teacher Association, we truly believe in collaboration. That means working with everybody because you can't do all of this stuff alone. We can't provide our children with what they need if it's just us that's doing it. And so when we look at places of worship, when we look at community resources, law enforcement is also there. You know, your psychologists, parents, teachers, just the whole community is what we try to get in. We want everyone to be involved in the goals and the things that we're trying to achieve for our children. Now, when you look at to raise the standard of home life, that is the number one thing that we believe is important for every child. If we can get every child to not necessarily the same place, but let's say the same space, then it gives them that opportunity to be able to succeed as long as we're providing those tools, those resources, and those support to keep them going. The other thing is to advocate for laws, and that's one of the big things that we do here at PTA. And when we say advocate, what we mean is we are the ones, and Charmaine and I have done it ourselves, speaking with our elected officials, whether it's the school board, whether it's our House of Representatives or Senate at the state level, or hopping in the car, taking that flight to go to DC and speak with our federal representatives. And so advocacy is pretty important, and we have a tendency to say that it's the heartbeat of what we do, but for me, during my journey in PTA, the one thing I've learned is if it's not in law and if it's not in policy, there is no accountability. And so that's why we advocate to get that in writing, get it in policy, that we can hold everybody who's responsible accountable to the things that we're supposed to provide our children. Now, when we talk about promote the collaboration and engagement of families in education, and the education of children and youth, that's kind of mention it, but it's more so working with the parents. We live in a day and age now where it's no longer, one person working and then somebody staying at home. Families look totally different now than they did 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and it's a very huge dynamic. So from a PTA perspective, our thing is to meet people where they are. It doesn't matter your situation. It doesn't matter, what level of school your child is in. We are here to help provide you with resources. We are here to be that little advocate that's behind you when you're speaking to your teacher or your school board member. Support, at the end of the day, is the big thing that you're going to get by being with PTA and being part of the PTA family. The other thing is to engage the public in united efforts to secure the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social well-being of all children and youth. If you've ever been involved or attended community events in an area with the PTA, you may notice that the PTA is a sponsor of that event. We try to do a lot of community outreach to provide people with resources to be able to help their families and to help their child. So, for example, you may have a health and wellness fair at a park, in your community, but may not realize that the PTA is the one that helped put it together. The PTA is the one that helped sponsored it, and the PTA is the one that also may be potentially helping to fund it by bringing in other sponsors and other organizations to help with that project. A lot of times when you see wellness fairs or different health fairs, again, that's the PTA that's behind that, providing you as individuals and families with resources to be able to help your family.
And just to touch on that just a little bit, Lawrence, you too, if you're organizing something, oftentimes PTA is silo from the work that's being done in the community or in the schools. You can actually go to the PTAs and say, hey, this is not something done in the schools, but it's done in the community. It's done through our faith-based organizations. It's done through this avenue, in partnership with the city or the county or community. Ask the PTA to partner. Go and collaborate with the PTA, because we have, especially if it's within our budget, we have the ability to bridge that connection with school to family. So we will be interested in supporting those efforts.
And then the last thing is to advocate for fiscal responsibility, and that pretty much means the money, because you can't do nothing if you ain't got no money. So we are very involved in trying to do what we think is fair when it comes to that budget for our schools, for our teachers, and also school staff that are teaching staff. And so you'll always see us engaging in those conversations about that. So I think one of the big things that's happening right now, and you probably all heard about it, is the property tax, and how that's going to impact things. So we are getting ready as a PTA to start putting some campaigns together to talk about it from how it affects education, because there's a huge impact there when it comes to funding that's not part of the conversation. And so we want to bring that to the forefront so that you, our educated electorate, you know what's going on, so that you can make an informed vote when you go to the ballot box, in November. And so again, that fiscal responsibility, making sure that the money is there, so that we can do and the schools can do the things that they need to do to help educate our children.
I wanted a little bit of audience engagement. Raise your hands if you knew that there is someone advocating for your children from PTA, Florida PTA, every single day of the legislative session in Florida, Tallahassee. Raise your hands if you knew that there was someone or a group that was advocating on behalf of your child every single day during session federally in DC. And raise your hands if you knew that in every district, especially those that have a county council in the state of Florida that is under the umbrella of the state PTA, there is someone representing you at your county school district meeting. They may be serving on various advisory boards. I serve on 4 in Palm Beach County. So raise your hands if you knew that. So some of you, and then locally at your PTA, raise your hands if you knew that in PTA at your local level, there should be someone from the administration, or at minimum, a representative from different grade levels representing PTA at your schools. That is something that we take pride in. It is not just PTAs in a group that's in a clique. Sometimes, we have to be transparent, that occurs. But the reality is, the PTA model is that we are in an intentional space where we're advocating. And some people like to argue that membership might be the heartbeat, because it does take the money. It does take members. It does take, those dollars to further the voice. Every dollar is a voice. But what's most important is advocacy. And so PTA is not that mom and pop, selling cookies and baking goods. It is the advocacy. That is what we're entrenched in. That is the root of who we are. So our PTA values, and I know you want to touch on collaboration. PTA values: collaboration, commitment, and I will not bore you in reading an entire screen, diversity, respect, and accountability. For the sake of today, and just so we don't have to hear ourselves talking, I just want someone to take a look at one of those words and tell me, what does that mean to you in today's space? Any one of those words. When you see collaboration, commitment, diversity, respect, and accountability.
We don't bite.
Yeah, we don't bite. When you came, no. When you came today, does any of those words scream something to you?
Diversity sticks out to me specifically, because we work at a center for children with special needs specifically, and being here for the first time for us, and seeing so much diversity in a larger space, it hits different for us. So when we came to this session, we don't have a PTA school at all, which is what made us come here. So the diversity piece, and then also just trying to figure that out at our center.
All right, thank you for sharing.
So just to capture what was said, diversity stuck out. They work at a home, did I hear, it was a
It's a special education center.
special education center. They work at a special education center. And to be here for the first time, they realized diversity was something that was struck out to them. The diverse families, the diverse needs. That also struck out to me. This is my first time at this conference, not the Florida PTA, but this is my first time. And I was blown away when I arrived yesterday at the different ways that not only we can support families and the resources that we had. I had pleasure of talking to several different families between yesterday and today. Diversity definitely hit for me. What hit for you, Lawrence?
So I've been coming to the Family Cafe for like the last, I would say probably 10 years now. And I started because my nephew, John, is on the spectrum. And I saw a lot of the struggles that my sister was having. But it didn't really hit me until I had to watch him by myself. And that was a challenge. And so sometimes you got to go through that lived experience to truly understand, what others are going through. And so having had that experience for that one day, and she has been going through it for God knows how many days, it kind of hit you. And so I realized then that it isn't just our able-bodied children that have a lot of challenges. It's also those with the exceptional abilities that have issues, and nobody was really talking about that. And so I kind of took it personal that when we say all children, it really needs to be all children. And so when we talk about these values, I think the biggest one for me is commitment. Because you can't just get your foot in, water's hot, and then you decide you're going to run to your safe space. Sometimes you got to sit there as the temperature gets hotter and stay there in order to actually achieve and get some of the things that you say you want and that we know our children need. And so if we're committed, that means we're committed through the good, through the bad, kind of like a marriage, so to speak, and that you are there, until the end. I guess marriage is what? Till death do us
Till
apart?
death do us
We ain't
apart.
saying that the death part, but it's just saying you're in it for the long haul.
Well, I have a different perspective because I say once it's dead, it's dead. It doesn't have to be till death do us part. I won't die. But that's an insider joke that I have. But collaboration also speaks out to me because while we are an organization in which we will touch on the next slide of over 120 years, we have a base, we have track, we have the proven results, but we can't do it alone. We don't know the different organizations that are in different pockets of the state of Florida or nationwide because we're a nationwide organization. So we need to know what's in your communities so that we can share with those families and with those students and even with our school district and our leaders, all of our stakeholders. We need to know that you have a special education center. We need to know that you have a special education center. And where are you based out of?
Miami-Dade.
Miami-Dade. That's like 2 hours from me, not even, right? We need to know about that special education center because Miami-Dade in the state of Florida is our largest PTA based for the state of Florida. With nearly 200,000 members, majority of our local units come from Miami-Dade. So we need to know so we can promote those type of resources that are available in the community. So collaboration do speak out to me as well because it is through Family Cafe and other conferences like this that we actually have connections and collaborations with other organizations to make our PTAs stronger.
All right. Now, I kind of wanted to do a walk through history because a lot of people don't realize that the PTA itself has been around for, going on 128 years. And so the video is going to kind of give you a history of how we started and how we got to where we are now. And if I can figure out how to,
Play it.
yep. So a question, when we look at audience participation, was there anything that stood out for you?
I think for me, it just seemed like the timeline, and I guess when they merged with, African Americans and just seeing them become a part of PTA. I mean, from the picture, I can see like happiness, so I don't know if you go into detail, but it probably brought in more resources and things like that of that nature for everyone.
All right,
Repeat
thank
it.
you.
Repeat it.
All right, so we have to repeat whatever said because the audience, when it was replayed, they're not going to be able to hear what you said. All right, so she said that it was when the two PTAs merged, you had the PTA and the National Congress of Parents and Teachers Association that joined together to basically, well, she also said that it brought in more resources, but she also noticed that there was joy. People seem to be happy working together, doing this work that we do for PTA.
Anyone else?
That it's been around for so many years.
Yes.
That's what stands out to me. Because I wasn't aware that it's been 128 years. I only thought it was like 100 years, to be 100% honest with you. So it does have a long time frame, which is great because there is the support for the teachers. And parents are actually working together to provide this, because education is not just the teachers, it's the parents. It has to be a team. If the team doesn't work, you'll never progress.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing how one of the things that struck out to this attendee was it was 128 years. She didn't realize that PTA existed that long, or have been around for 128 years, and the importance of recognizing that PTA is not just for the teachers. While the T is in PTA, I agree, it's not just for the teachers. It is for the parents. It is for the community. It is for the stakeholders that has everything to do with who supports that whole child. That is what PTA is for and who it is for. If you can raise your hands and say, I support the whole child, whatever your title, whatever your background is, if you say, I support the child, I support every child, every voice, then you are in support of the PTA mission. You should be part of PTA. There we go. So today's PTA is it's a network of millions of families. So when we look at our national convention, so a quick plug in here, national convention is next week. We'll be in Pittsburgh. Thousands of families and communities will be in Pittsburgh supporting the National Parent Teacher Association convention. Leaders, stakeholders, elected officials, all will be in the room. And then next month in July, right back here in Orlando, Florida, the PTA will be having our Florida Parent Teacher Conference here in July at the Omni Resort. So we are the largest child advocacy, and I can't stress advocacy enough because we're the largest one in the nation. We are that organization that is conscious of what our children are doing, how our children are, the whole child is being supported, not only in the school, in the community, in the home, in the juvenile detention center, in the safe home, or in the group home. It's all children. So
just to stress some of the things that are important, the things that we've advocated for, you can see on there that PTA was responsible for the creation of kindergarten classes. You can also see that they were ones that were instrumental in developing the juvenile justice systems, because before kids were tried as adults, and that ain't right. And so there's been a lot of advocacy to get that done. Child labor laws, PTA helped to get those in place. Now, recently we've seen a backtrack in some of that, but we've been advocating to try and bring it back to its normal state where it was before. But it's going to take work, and it's going to take help from individuals like yourself. School safety is pretty big, with PTA. Public health service, we were one of the forefront institutions that talked about the vaccines for our kids, and then the hot and healthy lunches was also introduced by PTA, those free lunches that they get, which is another area that is now being basically trying to roll back. And so again, as a PTA, not just at the state level, but the federal level, we are working towards restoring those benefits back for our children.
And when we talk about, I know we talked about it earlier, when we talk about, supporting or going to Tallahassee and Washington, D.C. to advocate for our children, we're not just going and this is a conference or this is just talking. We're going on numerous occasions. We're helping write bills that support our children with disabilities, our children that are in the juvenile justice system, our children that are in home care or home inbound care. We are actually going and helping legislators form some of these bills, giving them our perspective collectively as parents. Every year we do something that is called resolutions or position statements that members get to weigh in. Members, as a matter of fact, did you know you can create a resolution at your local school or your county council and it can pass and go to the next level, to the next level, to the next level? For example, I can create a resolution at my students' elementary school or middle school. That resolution can be adopted at that local level. From that local level, that resolution can then go to the county, be adopted at the county level, then go to the state, be adopted at the state level, go to the national level, and be adopted. That's how our resolutions, and that is the bread and butter of how we advocate for certain issues.
Now, when we talk about national PTA's history, we're here today representing Florida PTA. And if you look at the timeline here, Florida PTA has been in existence since 1921. And so another organization that just celebrated, I believe, last year its centennial. And so we've been in the state, working diligently for a lot of different things, building out, programs, building out infrastructure, helping our local units grow, building relationships with the folks in Tallahassee, building relationships with different organizations like the school board organization, the Education Foundation. And so there's a lot of work that happens, good work, that you don't normally see, on the front end. And we had a similar history to National PTA, and where there was a PTA organization here in Florida, the Color Congress, and those two entities eventually merged. Now, we have been trying to do a lot of historical restoration, I guess is the word to use, because a lot of the history from the Colored Congress was lost. And so we've been working with Florida State University, with some schools in Jacksonville to try and rebuild all of that so that we can have that full and rich history of the PTA here in Florida. And if you're not aware, we've created like a museum at our state office. And so you can go there and see all of the past presidents, all of the artifacts that we've been able to recover, just so that you can see that full and rich history, all the conventions that we've had, and it basically just shows you everything that we've been doing as a state association.
So some of the areas of focus for us is students, school and success, health and wellness, and arts and cultural, as well as advocacy. Advocacy is always in there. And student school success, what does that look like for a whole child? What does it look like when we are empowering every child, we're empowering every family or every parent to advocate on behalf of their child? That's what school success look like, how we are meeting the needs of every child. Every child. So every 2 years, Florida PTA chooses a chair to lead the committee on developing a plan of work that ties directly into the vision of PTA and benefits children with exceptionalities in their families. 2 years ago, I was that person that was the champion to do so, and this is my boss, Lawrence Claremont. And so what we do is we get to come together every month and we get to champion, or not only champion, we get to identify what are the needs, what are the priorities this year. What are the priorities that we need to bring forth to our legislative committee so that they can go and advocate on behalf of our children? What are the priorities that we need to get to in front of all of our county councils and our regions in the state to get to, the school boards and their local units? And what are the needs from our principals? We have a teacher empowerment group in our education, executive team. What are the needs in our schools? Superintendents, what are the needs in your district so that we can also go and advocate for our children with exceptionalities? So ways you can help a student with special needs. And I'm going to actually, these are our ways, but I am going to challenge and say and ask the group, raise your hands if you work with, whether you have a child, you work with a child with disability or special needs. Okay. So what is one way up here that speaks to you? And there is, ask your current PTA to set up a special education committee. Start a special education PTA in your area. Parent-to-parent support team. Your PTA can create or purchase a something. And I'm going to say these, that if there's anything that screams out to you that we can help you today and meet your need today, let us know. Modify events such as carnivals, or to incorporate quiet areas or sensory integrated events, awareness events, whether it's for autism, dyslexia, Down syndrome, March of Dimes, and some of the other events. Teacher grants that include sensory items for the classroom. Apply to outside grants for money to support programs or teachers that benefit the children. Participate in Reflections art programs. Share the National PTA or the Florida PTA resources. Host a national PTA program, Connect for Respect. It's an anti-bullying program. Form relationships in collaboration with organizations that work with families of students with disabilities, and get involved in legislation and learn and follow up on policies and laws. Anything that strikes to you? Yes.
For our school, we just started, it's Autism Collier Charter School. It's our first year. What has been more effective for us has been the parent-to-parent support team, because a lot of parents are going through things and they feel alone. They feel like they're the only ones going through these challenges. And actually, us getting together once a month is super beneficial for everyone, because you can come together and say, listen, this might work for me, maybe it'll work for you. And actually having that support that you're not alone. It is challenging. I have 2 boys in the spectrum. They're both very young. I got 5 and 7. It's challenging enough when you have 1. When you have 2, it is very overcoming. You don't know what to do. So the only thing as a parent you can do is educate yourself. Try to get a community where you feel embraced. Because everyone looks at them and judges them because they are different. But that's what makes us great, is that we are different. Because if we were all blue, God, Lord, help us, how depressing would that be?
Absolutely.
Careful with the blue. Teammates are in they're on the other side, another part of my family history, but they were blue.
Anyone else that this might strike to? And I appreciate that peer-to-peer support, parent support. Did you know that Florida PTA, do we have a slide for that? It's later, right? Well, we may have it later on, but I'll say it prematurely. Did you know that Florida PTA has a exceptional student, I might be saying the word wrong, help me out.
Yeah, you're right.
Exceptional student PTA or special PTA, just at the state level.
The thing
No.
I know about PTA is they ask for $7 or $8 a year. Here's my money and thank you very much. That's all I know.
And see, I started PTA when my son was in kindergarten, and I will tell you, I'll share this quick story. He was in kindergarten, and he came home and he said, "Mom, our PTA was $5 at that time," and he said, "Can you buy a membership so that my class can win pizza. So I said, oh, I read it. I said they advocate. I don't have to do much at the school. I sent in my $5 because somebody else was doing all the work and I didn't have to go to the school. And then he came back and he said, you have to come to the meeting. So I said, why do I have to come to the meeting? They asked for $5. That's why I sent the $5 so I don't have to go to a meeting. He said, but for us to get the pizza, you have to come to the meeting. So I go to the meeting, and the first thing I said, I read their mission. And the mission was making every child's potential a reality. And I said, okay, I like that. And it went on about advocating, making every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families to advocate for all children. I was like, oh, I like that, advocating. All right. I go to the meeting, and when I sat in that meeting, the first thing was about Fall Festival. The second item on the agenda, Spring Festival. The next item on the agenda was Picture Day and how we need parents to volunteer for Picture Day, but you also have to pay for it. Then it was different from the pictures that the school have. And then there was another item on the agenda about it was like fundraising galore with 8 different items. And I raised my hand and I said, I thought you guys were about advocacy. It's a lot of fundraising. And the lady said, oh, we need to have you on our board. And no, you don't want to have me on my board because I'm going to shut down all of this because this is a lot of money. And so lo and behold, I joined that PTA as a volunteer coordinator because in my mind, I am going to gather all of the parents who are sick of all of this fundraising. And, we don't want to do it. Ask me for $50 for the whole year and leave me be. But $50 here, $25 here, $30 here, it adds up for families. And I could afford it, but I'm tired of it. And so I joined and I was getting volunteers. And we came to that next meeting. And you know what? I became the vice president of volunteer development, right? I became on that board. But you know what I also did? I also was able to mobilize a group of parents like me who wanted something more serious, who wanted something more. And we shift the culture of what PTA was. Because what did we do? When I mobilized them, we went to convention. We went to the national convention. We asked them because we wanted to learn more about PTA. And when we learned what PTA really was, we was able to go back and say, this is not what we want. This is what PTA really said that they are. And we want a PTA that really say who they are. So when I give my money, I want to advocate. I don't want this to be a fundraiser. Advocacy comes first, and then we can do some fundraising activities, but we have to be able to advocate. So yes, that was me too. And if that's happening at your school, we would love to learn how we can help your school go back to what PTA is really for and who they are, why we exist, and why we have continuously exist for 128 years.
I'll give you all that information if you want.
Yes.
All about that, yeah. No, I tried to join PTA at my older son's school, so he was elementary, this might be 10, 15 years ago. And the moms, it was very cliquish, and the moms, you work outside the home. Their noses were any higher and it was raining day round. It was, it's snub. They never got called for volunteers. They sent out the form. They did all a checklist of things to do. Never got called, nothing. But, they'll take my money. But
that is what we called a group that exists in the school that's using the PTA's name.
The current one now, we have a PTA. I give them my money. I do my due diligence. I do my money. I have no idea who's on the board, how many people are involved, none of that. Absolutely, I have no idea. And, so it's like you go, okay, I want to do something with, what do you have for special needs PTA? So I'm going, that's why I'm here. It's like, what does this mean? Because I don't even know, it was great to see the slides, but nothing. PTA, 128 years of, it's like, oh, that's beautiful, but it's not where I live.
And that's good to hear. That's good. That's good feedback. And we have to be transparent on what does it look like in your community. And that's why we are here. We are here to dispel some of those, images or that's not our brand. I can assure you that is not our brand. That is not who we are. And if you go down to different areas like Palm Beach County, you will see us front and center advocating. As a matter of fact, we don't do more fundraising than we do. For every fundraising, we do 2 to 3 advocacy work. So there is a balance, because we do need to do the fundraising. There are things that don't exist, that they don't have budget for in our districts, that we have to support. But
What I'm lacking is the advocacy.
yes,
Everybody's quick to, let's go beg people for money. First of all, I'm not a beggar. I'm not there with a sign saying I need money. We need to do things. We need
Yes.
to actually put the ball in motion, because you have kids with disability, even regular kids. We have to fight for these kids, and we're not. Everybody is clicked up and, oh, I have money. Well, that's great. I know that you can go and donate and then write it off on your tax write-off, but I can't. Every penny that I do, my time is money, and it is precious. And I'm here volunteering my time, but you want worker bees to do all the work and take all the credit because, oh, you did a donation. Your donation means nothing to me.
Yeah.
You're not backing it up. And the thing is that people don't take accountability for their actions. They just want people to do the work and just sit there and take pictures and be like, look, I gave in a check. That's great. You have the money to give in the check. But my time is worth that check. So what can I get my check?
Right.
You know, and it really steers a lot of people off. And that's why nobody wants to be part of the PTO or PTA because of this. And it gives it a bad rap.
yeah,
And I was born in Miami-Dade. I was in Miami-Dade, I was in Broward, and now I'm in Naples. And I see the different counties and how each county does things differently, but it's projecting the same way. It's just, give us your money, we're not gonna tell you what we're doing with it, but we're taking the money.
Right.
and another thing we also have. You want to touch on?
No, I was going to say it's unfortunate to hear that.
Yeah.
We do know that that exists, but as Charmaine was saying, we would need the information so that we can engage in conversations with those individuals to kind of bring it back to where it should be. One of the things to keep in mind is when you're looking at PTA at the school, one of their primary functions is family engagement. And it's not some of what we're hearing here now, it's family engagement. And so when I say family engagement, it's doing the extra that the school may not be able to do to enhance the educational experience for the child. And so that could be the school doing, when we talk about internet safety, partnering with the local sheriff's office to put a program on that talks to the parents about internet safety, because a lot of parents have no clue with all this new technology that's out, what to do, how to work with it, you know, with their child on those types of things. So another one could be, and I'm a very big advocate for men. I have a nonprofit that deals with men issues. And so when we look at dads in PTA, right now June is basically the month for men. It's Men's Mental Health Month. You know, we've got Father's Day and stuff like that coming up. So when you look at it from a PTA perspective, you know, having like a mental health forum, you know, where it's just specifically talking about the issues, you know, that dads are having and which impacts their ability to work with their children. And so when we say family engagement, it's those types of things that the school-based unit should be doing to kind of help the parents navigate all these new and different things that are happening for the benefit of their child. Then when we look at it from the teacher perspective, the PTA can help with different areas of teacher training that the school, you know, may not be providing. And so there's a lot that can be done that falls under the umbrella of advocacy, under the umbrella of family engagement to improve that school experience for the child. So,
Parents don't even know how to be parents. We're actually talking about doing orientations and explaining to them that when your children, it's a 5-minute goal. When your kids come into the car and you talk to them, actually interact with them and ask them, how's your day? What's going on? People don't do that. They're like, I don't know what to do with them. And the kid's like 8 years old. And you're like, what do you mean you don't know what to do with them? Like, that's it? You just threw the towel?
And that's where PTA is also good for as well. They should be sharing those resources. But what can your PTA do, and what can you do as a parent as well? These are not you know, these are isolated situations. Like, as I said before, this is not who PTA is or the brand of PTA, but what we don't know what we don't know. And if we don't know what is going on at the local level, we don't know what's going on at the county level, or even from the national standpoint, and I don't want to speak for national, if national don't know what's going on at the state level, they can't fix that issue. So I would certainly raise that issue, flag that issue for that next level. And I'm glad that you're flagging it here for us, because we will definitely get your information in and reach out, and we'll follow back up. Because at the same time, what can you do as a PTA or as a leader or parent? You can also go, once you give your money, you have a voice on that PTA. You can bring forth a motion. You can bring forth, you know, a action. You can bring forth a grievance. You can bring forth so many different things as a parent, and you're giving that money. Your voice matter. You can bring in, hey, we're discussing, let's just say it's fall fundraisers. Well, how does that look like for a student with special needs? How are you incorporating this group of students so that it's an inclusive programming? You know, how are you, hey, principal is doing a, you know, pep rally. How are you being inclusive of these students? Do you have a sensory area? Do you have, you know, what does that look like? Did you have another question or comment? Ma'am? Yes.
The concern that I have is that you have these PTAs in these schools and in these districts, and they roll up to state. How is it that national PTA doesn't know what's going on at the local level? If you have these pockets, you have these PTAs. So from a national level, are they not asking the questions? Like, if there's a quiet area of Florida, why is it quiet? We're getting money from them. Why is
So I would say that when you look at something, for example, I'm on a local level, right? I could be doing amazing things at J.C. Mitchell Elementary School down in Boca Raton. When I was president for 2 years, the first year, no one knew what J.C. Mitchell was doing because we did a horrible job sharing it up. National can see that there is membership, and National understands that there is activity. They're active, there is membership, there is representation at our conventions, there is representation at national conventions. So that activity does not actually, that's qualitative, or no, that's quantitative data. So if you're not sharing that qualitative data up, you're not applying for awards, that's when you're gonna start getting, you know, the bullseye on you. Hey, you're not applying for awards, you're not coming to convention, that's a problem. But if everything looks rosy and the bushes, there's no thorns out there and everything looks great, they see the qualitative data, and that data is good enough. The state, we see the qualitative data. What county are you from? Duval. Duval is involved in everything. They won probably the most awards last year at our convention. So if they won the most awards, if there's not a parent sounding that alarm, I served on the awards committee. If a parent was sounding that alarm and I was doing awards, I would be like, nope, Duval is not getting an award, because there's parents saying that's not true. It might be false activity. We may need to do more visits out there to see what exactly is going on, but we would be able to sound that alarm, is what I'm saying. We see the qualitative or the quantitative data, but if we don't know about that qualitative data or the disparities in that qualitative data, that it's not fair for us to be able to say, hey, they're not doing anything over there. So I would challenge you to say, tell us what's going on, like you're doing right now, and we'll talk about that county.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna hold off for about 5 minutes just to get through some of the slides.
All right. So one of the things that we just want to stress is, as advocates, we just have to be active. And being active means getting involved, and sometimes being uncomfortable and doing some of the things that we want to do. I've always said, if you're doing this type of work in this space, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's always changing. Now, when we look at legislation and the exceptional child, these are some of the resources that are available to you in PTA, and we're going to have to move quickly through some of these because of time. So if you've got a cell phone, now's the time to pull it out, start taking some pictures so you can go back and review the resources.
But really quickly, this is the special education PTA that we were speaking about earlier. This is at the state level. These are groups of families who want to focus specifically on this population, the special education PTA.
Now, we mentioned earlier that PTA has a lot of resources. And if you go to that QR code, it is going to take you to the National PTA website where all of this is available. And this is something when we do our convention, we have a class specifically on this so that the PTA local unit leaders can see exactly all the resources that are available. And that webpage is constantly being updated with information. So as laws, policies, and new things come about, that information is being placed on that page. And for you as leaders, within your particular groups, this is a great resource to go to and have information just to share. And it's kind of turnkey: print, distribute, print, do what it says. A lot of it is step by step by step. So if you are new, you can just follow it and it will get you to where you need to be. We also wanted to stress a lot of the things that are available for, our exceptional children. And so you're looking at programs such as School of Excellence, PTA Connected, Healthy Lifestyles. We do have a PTA podcast where a lot of people from professionals from a variety of different, backgrounds come in and share stuff for you as parents. We are heavily invested in STEM, and we also have our National PTA Reflections program. So on the National PTA website, you can do a deeper dive into all of this. Sorry we're rushing through, but we just want to make sure we get the information to you before they sound the bell. Now, just to pause on reflections. Here at Florida PTA, we have a very large group of students with the exceptional abilities that participate in our Reflections program. And as you can see, Reflections covers a variety of different categories. You're looking at photography, music composition, literature, film production, dance choreography, and the visual arts. And there's a specific category for our students that is under the accessible arts. The photo you see right now was a national winner from 2025, and that came from one of our exceptional students. All of these that you see on this page are winners at the state level. And so when we say getting our students involved in some of the things they may have not been able to get involved with before, PTA kind of opens that door to allow them to participate and be recognized for what they do. Now, this year we had 3 people win national recognition for exceptional children, and we have 15 that won in the state. And so if you're not a member of a PTA and you want to get your student or your child involved, in some of these additional things, I would say now is the time to approach your principal to find out who the local PTA president is so that you can start to get plugged in and engaged and start participating in some of the things that we have, going on as a PTA to help support you as parents, in the growth and development of your child.
And I'm not a proponent, but I'm a very transparent person. If you don't feel like your needs are being met at your local level, you can too join. You can decide that, hey, I may not want to join my local level, but I want to join the state special education PTA, or I may want to join Sunshine State PTSA. Those are statewide, and they'll still produce the same results. It may not be a local result, but it will give you information at the state level where you may feel like, hey, I need a different type of meal, and you're not feeding me what I need right now. I'm still hungry, and the state might be where I'm getting a better nutritious meal from.
This is our contact information. So I would say take a picture. For those of you that were expressing some concerns, please email us so that we can work on making 2026 and 2027 a much better experience for you.
And we are having our elections in July, so we do have some leaders that are intentional about this work that are coming into this space or are interested in coming into this space, should I say.
And these are just the QR codes. We have a newsletter that goes out every month. The Join Plus Connect will take you to the link that will let you know what all of the schools are in the state of Florida that are associated with the PTA. And so if you don't know where the closest one is for you, you can just go to that and then look for your school name or look for a school in your area where you can participate. And then we talked about the Special Education PTA. That is the QR code to go to their webpage, find out more information about them, but also to join as a member. Now, the beauty of a state PTA is that you don't have to drive to go to no meetings. Everything is virtual. And so participation, is a lot easier. However, they do have committees and things like that they like to do. And again, that work is virtual, but it may require you, if you have to go attend an event or maybe go speak at a school board meeting or go to Tallahassee, at that point, travel and stuff becomes involved. But the Special Education PTA is a statewide association of parents from across the entire state. I can't remember how many members they have, but they meet regularly every month, and they are very active in a lot of the work that they are trying to do, especially within this space. That pretty much brings us right up to the time that we're supposed to end.
We got about 2 minutes left if you had any additional questions. Yes.
Trying to think of like a quick background. I work as a family partner now at UF, but I was an RBT before that, and then before that I was a para. And I have a daughter who just finished kindergarten. She's autistic and has Down syndrome, and uses an AAC and some sign language to communicate. We had a bit of a rocky year with the school and making sure that her accommodations were honored and stuff. I witnessed a para take her device from her and go and put it on a separate table where she did not have access to it. And I obviously spoke up right away. But as in my, time working as a parent and then being a parent, I've noticed that paras don't get any kind of training. Like, they just are a warm body in the classroom a lot of times. So I'm wondering if the Special Education PTA can help get some kind of legislation so that paras can actually get training and get know actually how to take care of our kids.
I hear someone who I hear is someone that I can recommend to serve on the education committee or legislative committee for Florida PTA. And so after this recording is over, let's talk and I'll give you a QR code because I think that is necessary, but also a concern that can come before our legislative committee. And I will tell you, I serve on a chair in Palm Beach County, and I would love to talk more because I would definitely champion it at our level.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then to answer your question a little deeper, yes, the
Yes.
Florida SEPTA can help with crafting legislation and presentation to, our elected officials.
And resolutions.
And
or
resolutions.
position statements. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being present, being engaged, stretching, being comfortable, having uncomfortable conversations, and allowing us to also be transparent and want to help with your PTAs or your local units. Thank you. And thank you to Hyatt.